It's 3 p.m. on a Tuesday or Thursday. You know what that means. It's a great way to promote a show. Time for their best ball draft here on Stochastic, where we head to the world of DraftKings, bidding for $15 million in total prizes. Of course, $20 entries will get you a free entry as well as a big thing to know. And I am already in a draft room here. We're getting going here. Thought we'd have a chance to maybe get a few of you guys in the room, but some of you may have figured it out anyway. Either way, I'm picking the very non-influential 12 hole here, so we'll see what we get. But DraftKings, it's best ball week, guys, in large part because MLB, all-star break, not a lot to go and play in the world of DraftKings. So make sure you are playing on DraftKings right now. Number one, the first thing, when you get in your first entry into this best ball millionaire tournament, you are getting a free entry right away. So that's 2 shots, $15 million without ever setting your lineup again, which is, of course, the dream in best ball. And it is $2 million for first place as well. Let's keep that in mind. Number two, they also have some special bonuses going this week where if you put in 2 entries, you get $10 in DK cash back. So basically spending $40, you get $10 back. You do that 3 times. You can end up getting $30 in DK cash back. Again, the little rake back bonuses that DraftKings gives you, frankly, don't end up being very little if you are maxing the tournament out. So keep that in mind on DraftKings. Play over there if you can. Of course, DraftKings, click the link in the description, I think, maybe. Or if not, download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. I think that's also a thing you can always do. Play some best ball here. Of course, my 3 rules of thumb I'd like to give you guys up top in these best ball videos, because a lot of the people on the Stochastic channel are coming over from Stochastic videos, always pushing great DFS advice, always on here. The best ball, some similarities, some differences. Number one, there's no projection you're really using in best ball. Certainly some sites out there have their spin in a season-long projection. The main thing that is a projection, though, that you can use as kind of a reasonable facsimile is the average draft position, the ADP that you see on all the best ball sites out there. That tells you where players are getting drafted. You don't want to take players that are normally going in the 3rd round in the 1st round. It's basically going to upset the entire draft capital that you're allotting. It'd be like playing a salary in a $50K DraftKings tournament, like playing $40,000 in salary. Like, yeah, maybe you can win. More likely than not, you're killing your own EV, killing your own expected value you're going to have. Number 2 thing to keep in mind, besides ADP and soaking up that value, again, trying to make teams that are racking up as much ADP, closing line value as possible, is that part of that first goal as well. Number 2 is stacking and correlation. If you play NFL DFS, you watch Lafayette and Ben Rossa, Matt Kajeski, and Eric Lindquist all year long doing the NFL stuff, or I guess not all year long, but large part of the year doing the NFL stuff on here. You know, you're stacking your QB up with your wide receiver, your tight end, but here in best ball, adding an RB on top of that can be viable. Adding a couple receivers, couple tight ends on top can be viable. That's what we're looking for here in the world of best ball. We're trying to capture that rising tide of a team across the entire season, whereas for an NFL DFS, for the most part, unless you're in a really high dollar tournament, you're not really making 4-man stacks, 5-man stacks that often. Here, you're trying to do that. You're trying to have some, correlation from the other side as well, if you can do that. That's a more complicated concept to hit. In this room, Jahmyr Gibbs at pick 3. You don't see that very often. We'll see what we get in this little wacky room of ours. Number 3 rule here. Your expected value is realized in week 17. That's the big part to keep in mind here. A lot of people in best ball Twitter in particular, which place you can spend some time if you want to lose some brain cells. You can go over there and you'll see a lot of people obsessing about advance rate all year long. They'll think that the best players are the ones that advance the most. And yes, advance rate is an important part of the equation. The main thing you are trying to keep in mind, though, is that you're playing for week 17. So having teams that are built, having adequate wide receiver capital that aren't just held together by spit and bubble gum. That's what you're looking for the most part. So that means teams that have that stacking and correlation, teams that have week 17 bringbacks, the opponents that can be in a high scoring game environment for week 17. That's what we're looking for the most part. So we're trying to build teams that have the ability to spike for the playoffs, to spike in particular for week 17, because that's when all your expected value is reached. If you advance a bunch of teams, you'll win your entry fee back a little bit more than that. If you win big in week 17, you're talking about winning millions of dollars. On DraftKings, the top 10 finishers win $100K at a minimum. Obviously, top prize is $2 million. Second place is $1 million. You're talking about prizes that you don't even see in a milli maker week to week. So that's what you're trying to shoot for, is that big win that you can then puff your chest out, declare yourself the tribal chief of best ball. I certainly haven't thought about this at all myself when we're wish casting our goals for 2025. In this room, Justin Jefferson at 7. It kind of sucks to be in this part of the board where the guys before you got a lot of crazy value, in large part. This guy reached for McCaffrey. It's really the big thing here. But we'll get some of the usual suspects coming back to me. Derrick Henry coming up in DraftKings ADP. I have felt like he's undervalued as well, especially this resurgence of CMC in terms of his average draft position. Henry coming up, I think. Surprised it took this long, to be honest. You know what? This is not a start I've done very often, but I do think the DraftKings ADP is supported a little bit more. We're going full RB piggy here. I'm putting up my snout. We're going Derrick Henry. We're going Devon Achane. Across all the sites right now in best ball, I have a lot of Derrick Henry. I've been picking in the 10, 11, 12 spots above average, which is going to happen sometimes. It's just a random number generator that occurs here for you. But basically, been getting in these 12 spots a lot. So I take Derrick Henry as part of what I'm doing here. I take one receiver, one RB. I think a balanced build from the end of a draft right now. You'll get different feels. I think zero RB is more viable from like the middle part of a draft. Think that going RB piggy, going 2 RBs in a row, bimodal RB if you want to use the more scientific sounding term. Going to that at the beginning of the round, more viable. But Henry and Achane are 2 guys I'm getting one of in a lot of rooms, trying to see if this is maybe a good build to try both of them. So we'll see what we do here with a Derrick Henry, Devon Achane start. Got Robert Griffin III here picking in the 9 hole with the classic lemon party image that I will spare you no additional details on. Get an Amon-Ra, getting Puka Nacua in these ranges, certainly not bad. I definitely feel like there's an appreciable tier break here with Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Nico Collins, and Brian Thomas. Obviously, we saw Brian Thomas be great last year, in particular when all the receiving options for Jacksonville were gone. I mean, they finally moved him around the rotation a little bit more. He played a good amount of the slot. Was really effective there. But now you do have Travis Hunter coming in with high draft capital, a lot of intention to use him on offense based on what the team has said so far. I think for Brian Thomas, Drake London, I think these guys are a little bit of a tier break, even though I would make the case for Drake London potentially being a player you wanted to value above Brian Thomas. He was just targeted so much per route last year, and that went even higher when we saw Michael Penix take over. I think Drake London should be more of a 1-2 turn pick, but here we see some nice Week 17 correlation by our guy Robert Griffin III with the Rams-Atlanta stack for Week 17. I was watching your other stream when this one popped up. The DK promo today is a 25K tournament, top 100. Oh, is that what it is for today? Okay. No, I thought the other one is still going. I could be wrong, though. There's a lot of DK promos. There's basically a DK promo going every week. But yeah, the one today is 25K tournament for people who are putting in entries today. Top 100 get 250 DK dollars. So there we go. So I guess that's a different one. I might be mixing up my promos, but new promos every day on DraftKings. Again, they've been doing that a lot this year. So pay attention this week in particular, because you're going to find a lot of promos on the app every day that I'm not privy to, that we don't have ad reads for, but keep that in mind. But appreciate the heads up. Dirty Q's gotten the wraparound spot 3 drafts in a row. That's just randomness. That's what happens. Of course, my pal Pete Overzet always makes the jokes about the Influencer 101. Very fitting for me, of all people, to get the 112 then. But I think in reality, you're going to get spots that are just going to be mostly aligned with how many drafts you're doing. Certainly, if you use a tool like Best Ball Explorer, that's one you can search Best Ball Explorer. bestballexplorer.com will also take you there. That's a tool where basically it's harder to use for DraftKings or some of the other sites out there. You can export your CSV, get in there, get a read on all your picks and how things have looked. You can see where every draft position you've gotten is, and sometimes it's never going to align like perfectly flat. And I say that as somebody that's gotten about, I think, 200 drafts in so far this year. One's always going to be heavy for you every year. Let's see. Oh, the other one ended last at 11 p.m. My bad. So I gave you guys the wrong promo. Trying to promote extra hard to be a good DraftKings partner here when I'm on Stochastic. I got the wrong promo. But yes, today, leaderboard. So there you go. Week 1 leaderboard tournament is what you get for DraftKings when you put your entry today. And again, new deals every day. So keep that in mind. That's what you have going. But they go away, guys. So take the deals while you can. Get your entries in. The one that doesn't go away is you're getting the free entry one. That one is still very much alive right now in DraftKings, getting playing for free. When you get that first entry in, that's sort of the main thing you're getting when you get your first entries in the DraftKings Best Ball Millie Maker for the year. Other news items, and I did talk about the stuff on my Splash Play channel beforehand, which I will drop in the chat if you guys want to see more of my best ball stuff, because I draft on every platform on there. The Quinn Judkins news, I feel like, is the big one people are most curious about. A guy who certainly people were drafting a lot on the assumption he would step into a bell cow role given the draft capital that he had. That said, I think that for Judkins at this point, with the risk that we have now of him, number one, so there's 2 things with Judkins, and this is on Pro Football Talk today. Again, link to my channel in the chat here if you want to go check it out. For Judkins, though, basically, because he's not under contract right now, he can't get on the commissioner's exempt list. So he can't get suspended until he actually signs a deal. But he's part of this group of second-round picks right now that are also waiting to see if they can get guaranteed money, because Jaden Higgins from the Texans, their rookie receiver, he got guaranteed money. Now all these guys are there trying to get their own guaranteed money. And as a result, the Browns might not want to make that deal with Judkins right now if he wants to be a guy getting guaranteed contract. Given what they just went through as well as a team with the Deshaun Watson stuff, not to laugh, but it's crazy this is happening for them again. They might not want to give this guy guaranteed money. So he's either got to adapt his terms to even get himself suspended right now. Point being to me is I think, people are buying the dip a little bit on him. He was going to the 60s and 70s a lot. Now he's going to the 90s in most rooms. I would wait a little bit further. I think him going more to like the 110s, 120s feels like appropriate ADP risk. But again, domestic violence stuff, that is a separate thing. That a guy like Jordan Addison, who's also in court today, I think in California, at least was supposed to be. I don't know if it's happened while I've been on stream today. Those situations can get dragged out. Rasheed Rice, same thing. They can get dragged out. Domestic violence usually results in the commissioner making a suspension. The last time we had this happen, I forget it was an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, but it ended up being that guy getting 5 games. Reports of that Judkins did punch a woman in the face. So, I'm not the guy to talk about the stuff here. We're just talking about the gambling part of it. But that is something where, it could certainly be very easy for the commissioner to suspend him for that. If any media comes out with that as well, video, photos would not be good for him. Marvin Harrison, certainly a player here. Graceful transition for me. Certainly a player here going past ADP at pick 36. He's got an ADP of 31. I like Harrison enough. He's very buff this offseason as well. So we've got that going for him, even if he still can't get open. Mike Evans here would make this team better. Certainly, he has a bit of a tier break for me at receiver, I think, with his role and knowing the fact that no matter what you get, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be a guy going for that 1,000-yard streak, keeping that alive. Breece Hall, I wouldn't hate if I didn't have 2 running backs already. Jaden Daniels, my favorite player from last year, still my favorite player, I would say this year again. But I'm going to go Mike Evans here because I think we need to make it up at receiver more. So we have a little bit of Week 17 correlation as well with Devon Achane and Mike Evans. Tampa Bay and Miami, one of the games on the docket for Week 17. But a Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans start. Definitely paying premium price tag for Derrick Henry, a guy who it seemed like was falling in rooms to the late teens. Now he's going on DraftKings right at the turn. So taking him at the turn. I did get a receiver gift the turn. That's true. And I'm glad to get it. Any thoughts on the MLB best ball contest? I am not an MLB best ball player, so I don't want to talk out of pocket with it. Still think you want to have some amount of stacking on your teams. Obviously, a thing that Stochastic has led the charge for in years, talking about the concept of how important it is to stack your teams up and do those kind of things that we all know are very important. But besides that, really for MLB best ball, there's positional balancing. I think I've heard a lot of success for zero pitcher kind of builds more so, where you get an anchor pitcher, but then start the position a little bit more, focus more on your skill position guys. But there's probably better content out there than me for it, unfortunately. So it's good to play it though, because I do think, candidly, DraftKings will have a hard time filling those tournaments. So you'll probably find some EV from that. And if you know what you're doing well enough, I think taking some bullets at it would certainly be a logical thing to do, but not my realm of expertise, unfortunately. NBA, I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around, and I feel like I consider myself a very good NBA DFS projector and a pretty good NBA DFS player who's had good results, but certainly, would always love to have better results. That's how that goes. For NBA best ball, I'm still wrapping my head around that. NFL best ball, the positive for it is that you have about 15 years of data on, even though it's not on all the big sites like DraftKings, some of the other large sites out there. You have data though from other smaller best ball sites to tell you how teams generally should be built. So NFL best ball, not figured out by any stretch, even though people will claim it is with some of the real-time assistant tools that are out there. But it's more figured out than I think things like MLB best ball are, NBA best ball are. It's obviously, me speculating though. As always is the goal here. We're trying to build teams that don't have very obvious strategic draft capital errors. Taking 2 elite QBs, we have 2 teams in the room, and my general rule of thumb I've mentioned, obviously we talk about the 3 rules of thumb for best ball, but in DraftKings rooms, a lot of times you will find at least 2 or 3 teams that are killing themselves by just not balancing draft capital accordingly, making mistakes that often will kill them. If not even an advance rate, will kill them once they get into playoff pods. Double elite QB is wasting way too much capital in a onesie position. That's the first thing here. You want to take 2 QBs in the top 100, even that, according to all this data we have, 10 plus 15 years of best ball data on some sites out there, you don't want to spend this much capital at QB. You want to build especially your receivers that are going to spike meaningfully, RBs early as well. You only have so many shots at these true bell cow backs, guys with legit red zone roles, all that. These are two teams making really bad choices is what I would say here. Don't be the guy that's hemorrhaging red early in a draft. You're bleeding yourself out early in a draft. You don't want to do that. It's a helpful mnemonic device. Just don't take double elite QB. It's always bad. And there are people on Twitter, the entire bit is taking double elite QB, and people on other platforms have figured out that that's not the strategy. They just dunk on people, tweeting those screenshots over and over again. Here on DraftKings, people keep trying it. It's just not. Maybe if you're playing a cash game, I don't know. If you're playing a 12-person league on best ball on DraftKings, maybe you do it there. But I strongly encourage you to not do these drafts in the 5-hole and the 10-hole. Yeah, and I think with best ball, the one thing too is like, especially as I've, look, I believe I'm really strong at player takes. I think this is one thing about me. If you watch the streams, especially over the course of a longitudinal period of time, you'll see I do tend to get a good amount of stuff right. I would say more than average for the industry, but who fucking cares? But in reality, though, like, player takes only carry so far. Being aware of structure, being aware of draft capital, being aware as well of how ADPs move year to year and how it's going to affect how you should view that stuff. That's really the most important part of best ball. So if these guys see the video, don't get mad at me and leave an angry comment, because that happens a lot when you do these kind of streams. But like, you really want to be mindful here of like how much better your team would be by adding that other receiver in, adding the elite tight end in, adding another RB in, another, like, whatever you want. But just 2 QBs early is just not the move. So my job is to help you guys hopefully not lose money. That's what I consider it anyway. The cool teacher in the Dangerous Minds. I'm Michelle Pfeiffer sitting on a backwards chair, and I'm just like, guys, just don't draft double elite QB, and you're going to be all good out there in the world. A lot simpler solution than Michelle Pfeiffer to deal with in the film Dangerous Minds. When do I prefer to draft a tight end? It's going to be variable. I mean, I certainly like the elite tight ends. I would say if I left all my tournaments this year with 20% each of McBride and Bowers, I'd be cool with that, because we're talking about guys that have had, historic years of tight end in Bowers' case, but also McBride has been really elite, and we haven't theoretically seen the ceiling from those guys. But that said, taking 3 late tight ends on DraftKings, we have 20 rounds, 4 late tight ends. That can work pretty well as well. I got Baker Mayfield at 59. What is going on in this room? All right, bad choices by people here. We're going to go Travis Hunter. His ADP is coming down a little bit. I'm still very comfortable taking him in this range. We got pick 60 for Travis Hunter. I lost out on Baker Mayfield already. That guy took him incredibly early. So that's going to throw off the math a little bit here. I think James Conner is a nice pick. I do think another receiver would also be not crazy to do here. But I'll go James Conner. I like James Conner enough. I think we feel really solid at RB with potentially having an RB that can make the flex. So a Derrick Henry, Devon Achane start at RB. Picking at the turn here. We took those guys in a row. Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans got that back. Travis Hunter took him right at ADP as well. James Conner, slight discounted ADP, but nothing too crazy here. All of our RBs have different bye weeks, so that's a positive. We might be able just to get away with adding one more RB and really spamming some other positions. So that's a possibility. This guy's taking Baker unstacked at 59 and reaching for Come on, man. Look, a lot of things can win in best ball. It comes down to the luck you have in pods. And in best ball, if you're not familiar, you have a pod in week 15. You're competing against, depending on the site, 12 to 16 people. Week 16, same thing again. Week 17 on DraftKings, you have about 1,000-person final. Some other sites like 500 to 1,000, whatever. It depends. That's how that goes. Like, these are 3 teams doing really EV killing stuff here in the same room. And I made a promise myself. I used to, really go nuts, would tweak, crash out as a bit here because I thought it was funny when you get sniped. This is just bad drafting. This is bad drafting. And unfortunately for best ball, you do benefit from the bad drafting that occurs around you. But like, what the fuck, man? Unbelievable. Yeah, Melissa was in my draft earlier. Yeah, your Justin Fields reach much more logical than what we're getting here. Travis Kelce, you can get 40 spots later. Baker Mayfield, you can get at least 20 spots later, if not 30. Living in a best ball paradise. Doesn't feel like it today, even though that is certainly a great reference relative to my Dangerous Minds. Did I watch the actual, before we get to this stuff, other NFL news, because we do want to make sure we're catching up on NFL news. Of course, my Splash Play pod channel will also be doing a morning video once we get into full training camp cycle and there's actually news going on. We'll be doing a daily video that's 10 minutes long, catching up on all the football news and my take according to it. So that's coming up. I do want to talk quickly about Juwan Jennings, another guy here. It's easy to get distracted by this room going a little bit nuts in front of us. So Juwan Jennings, people are going to panic about a little bit. They didn't today. Our guy Robert Griffin III took him at 64 as part of a Niner stack he seems to be building out. Juwan Jennings basically holding out because he's getting paid 7.5 mil. And the thing is, he's apparently not actually holding out. He's still going to report to camp. People are going to freak out about it, though. His ADP on DraftKings has already fallen a little bit, despite him in this room going fairly high, fairly close to where he's been going. Jennings is either going to get new money. He's either going to get that or he'll get a trade, which I don't think is very likely. But he's a guy that had, 28, 29% target per out run last year. Like really elite performance. Good red zone targets, over 1 per game as well. Efficient in terms of the EPA metrics that I swear by from my data pals at Sports Info Solutions that cover kind of aggressive football info. Got a login from my Football Outsiders days running that site, and I've never looked back. Really feel like it has enhanced my understanding of the game. Point being is Jennings exceeds in all these metrics. He's going to get new money because he's getting paid less right now than guys like Diami Brown, Darius Slayton, Josh Palmer's getting paid, I think, very similar money to him. He's fallen behind a lot for a guy that was like treated like an elite target last year. Now is with Deebo Samuel still part of the team. Now this year starting with no Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, not a great target earner, even though he should take a leap forward this year, you would think. For Jennings, he's got him by the balls. So he's going to get an outcome that's good for him, and yet the way that markets work, they're going to panic about it. And I really think for Juwan Jennings, you're going to benefit from having diamond hands on that one and trying to stay the course, because he is a player that I feel really strongly about how he played last year. Like he really, to me, was a guy that should have been on his way off the roster, basically, with Pearsall coming in, with Ayuk getting new money, with Deebo still hanging around, with Kittle having a great year as well alongside that. Now for him, like he's got full clear run out to be maybe an even better target earner. So I'm a big believer in Juwan Jennings. I think you should take him if you can. We got picks coming up here, though. Chris Olave falling behind ADP by a good amount, 12 pick discount. I need more receivers. So sometimes it is as simple as that. We will go. This guy took CJ Stroud. This guy's going to get the draft thrown out for reaching too much. There's very much a possibility. All right, that's our fourth receiver in here. Not crazy about Pacheco. He's a decent value. Tony Pollard. I am going to go Cooper Kupp here. Again, I feel like in a PPR site, he is also a bit of a tier break spot. I do like Brian Robinson a good amount. I feel like if I had taken him, I would feel that I don't need a single more of a running back to have with three that I have, and then one more on top. But we right now have a Derrick Henry, Devon Achane start, Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans, Travis Hunter, James Conner, Chris Olave, Cooper Kupp. Olave has a nice value here. Obviously, New Orleans, a team that all the markets have projected pretty poorly. I think that's still a player that getting a benefit here of having a situation where Kellen Moore comes in, cleans up the offense, creates vertical shots in a way that I don't think Chris Olave has had in his career. I believe in him a good amount if he's going to fall to pick 84. I'll say that. Pick 70, he's competing with some tougher guys. Like you have Chris Olave versus Chris Godwin. I would take the shot on Godwin given how great he was last year. I would take Olave over Diggs. Addison with the suspension, he'll probably come down a little bit. I like Addison a bit more, I think, than Olave, but it's pretty close. Olave versus Shakir, kind of different players, but Shakir in a PPR site, that's even with Olave, I think. You take the Browns RB. No, thank you. No, thank you. Somebody else can take the falling Judkins knife, and it looks like the guys on auto draft did. So this room, man, this room is not making good choices. At least the guy reached for Stroud, and he's got a stack partner with Nico Collins. That's a positive. But unstacked Baker Mayfield, egregiously bad choice. I think Baker would have made my team feel a lot better, too, so I'm disappointed by that. Hawkins is the best value in best ball right now. I don't agree with that. I think he's an okay click. The best value in best ball, I mean, look, this is a real prisoner of the moment one, but it's probably Jerome Ford. And even if he weren't the guy, Dylan Sampson would probably be it. I'm not a big believer in Dylan Sampson, the Browns rookie back coming in. If you're not familiar, he and Judkins, both part of this rookie class. Sampson is coming from Tennessee. It is very hard to go from Tennessee to an actual pro offense because of the way that Tennessee runs, basically spreading out a ton of receivers, sometimes getting only 4 linemen in the box. A lot of motion as well, pre-snap, that can really throw things off. It's part of why a guy like Jalen Hyatt's had a tough transition as well. But Jalen Wright would be the best example, another guy from Tennessee who did not make much headway last year in Miami's backfield, and then they drafted another rookie this year, maybe to make up for it. I think Jerome Ford, with Judkins having us hanging over him, I think Ford was draftable no matter what, because I think Jerome Ford is a guy that's been trusted by this Browns organization, took a pay cut to come back. The team wanted to have him back at the right price. He met that right price. I think that he's been a much better click than people realized. But with Judkins' issues right now, Jerome Ford's free. I mean, if he lines up for me here, I think he's right now got like a 190 ADP on DraftKings. Let me see. Putting in DraftKings into the thing. All right, Jerome Ford, 188.9 ADP on Jerome Ford. It's a really nice click at this point. And again, Judkins could clear all charges or something, and he could end up being completely clean. You're just better off playing the other side of that with the information we have right now, is how I would feel about best ball as well. Best ball is really a site, or a game rather, where it's about the concept of reacting to news and how you handle that. And really, the Judkins situation is a very early case study and how people react to news and handle it. A lot of people just grab the falling player, but it's hard for a rookie to dig out if he doesn't sign his contract. He's not in camp because of this situation. It's hard to dig out. Hard to dig out of not being there early and good to go. Part of what worked well with Bucky Irving last year was one of my biggest stands, was that he was available day one. He provided an aspect that they wanted in terms of avoided tackle ability that Rachaad White didn't really give them. He got on the field early because, he played well. When you're not available to play and when coach is over, things go badly. And I think Judkins, hard to expect him to be on the field right now. In 2025 with the DV hanging over you. I don't know. I could be totally wrong about that. He could get cleared tomorrow, I guess. But I would worry that it gets worse. I would worry that a photo comes out. I would worry that if you're drafting him, this is obviously, as a basic human being, I hope all the information comes out and he's treated accordingly. But that's the fun nuance of domestic violence that we get to talk about on best ball streams. Things I'm really equipped to talk about as a professional. All right, we got a 0-3-5-0 build right now. QB has been real stupid because of some bad choices by guys in this room. I'm not going to let that panic me, though. I'm going to try to stick to what we're trying to accomplish here. Think tight end at this point would be a logical click. Mark Andrews, no correlation, but obviously a quality enough tight end that'll help us prop up the room a little bit. It's like it's more of a luxury pick than anything at this point. And QB, I mean, based on my QBs right now, I don't think there's anybody I have to go up and get. Just really at this point, a question of, do I want to try to backdoor stack something? Because the QB room this room is really sniping QB a lot and very early. But I'll just make another bet on Baltimore. I'll go Rashad Bateman here. Getting Bateman and Mark Andrews, obviously would love to have Lamar Jackson with these guys. I think that would make the team pop even more. We basically have a bet on Baltimore's touchdown, and these are the kind of micro stacks you can do here with Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, just making a bet that Baltimore's going to score a lot of points and we can benefit some of it. Obviously, the issue we run into is that if you have Lamar teams stacked up with these guys, a Lamar team in a pod, like in the playoff pods, can absolutely dust you if you don't build good players around this stack. But I still like getting parts of high-scoring offensive teams that we expect to win a lot of games, and Baltimore certainly fits that criteria. Guys, if you're watching this video, make sure to hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Of course, Stochastic, quiet week around here. I think you're only getting me on stream because all the sports on rest. A lot of guys taking vacation as well, well-deserved. Guys like Laffy and Ben Rasa. Guys like Greg Ehrenberg working through it. Always proud to see my pal Greg working hard for the boys. But if you guys are here, it's best ball time, and obviously it's a DFS channel, so show some love if you can. If you like the content, leave a comment after the fact. I do try to pop in afterwards to answer any questions or comments from people watching the streams. But hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Goes a long way here on a quiet DFS week. Also, make sure you download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app right now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for a share of 15 mil. You also get a second ticket when you do that to get another shot at that $15 million. It is $2 million to first place, $1 million to second. Top 10 finishers win at least $100K. That's where you want to be putting some action in this year, I think, to get a shot at winning that money. And I'm pretty sure the guy who won DraftKings last year was a Stochastic sub. Christopher Cash, I believe is his name. Because I know he's tipped me from doing Stochastic think MLB streams or NBA. When he won big there as well. Shout out to him for a good run. Point being is like, I strongly believe that best ball is a prospect that you can actually win money on. And obviously, that's the goal of everything in Stochastic. But certainly when you are playing DFS, I'm sure if you guys play MLB a lot, you feel how tough it is to win because the field is so sharp now. The tools are so great, whether it's Stochastic sim tools or other, other versions of things they have. Obviously, other sites out there doing similar things as well that help people out. For best ball, even though there is a lot of data support things, you see constant mistakes, constant errors that compound for people and make your entries, your shots at that $2 million up top, that $15 million total prizes more viable. So this is me if I were giving an impassioned sales pitch for best ball in general, playing on DraftKings in particular, like they've had overlay the last few years. We're going to be getting wildcard entries and stuff. If you get, rake back, you get good stuff like that. In addition to getting potentially some wildcard entries that your third place finishers, because they had enough points, can make, can advance in a tournament. There's a lot of good things potentially going on in DraftKings for just your most maximizing your expected value. So play on DraftKings, download the app. You guys know the deal. But yeah, check it out if you have time this week. Really would recommend it. Do I think Harris will do well at the Chargers? So Najee Harris right now, and this is a news item I guess it's worth talking about. He had a fireworks issued over the 4th of July and hit himself in the eye. To what extent the injury is, we don't really know. His agent has said that he'll be back and good to go for the season. Some reports came out today that they expect him to be closer, ready sooner than not. But really, any chance for him to fall behind Omari and Hampton is not great. Hampton's coming up in ADP. Najee's not really falling. It kind of doesn't make the most sense. But I would say for Najee, I think he's still probably a very similar bet. The issue is that Omari and Hampton day one should be better than him. I mean, just to me, there was two special running back prospects in this class. It was Genty, it was Hampton, then a bunch of other guys that looked like they could play in the league, but none of them seemed to me terribly special. I would say that for Hampton, any chance he gets to show the Chargers how special he is day one is going to benefit him. So if Najee's out with that eye injury the first week of camp, I think Hampton probably can start to put some distance there. But if Najee gets in fast, it'll just make it harder for Hampton to pay off his ADP to keep Najee at bay. So that's how that goes. We got a pick coming up here. Drake May on the board if we want to try to do some backdoor New England stacking. Trevor Lawrence, I think, has to be one of the picks here. We've got our bet on Jacksonville, so I'm going to grab him now. Trevor Lawrence, come on down. Drake May, I'm not a big believer in, but 15 spots after ADP with a lot of backdoor stacking options for New England, I think is a pretty good click because the team to me feels like a 3 QB team, and our other QB is probably going to come later. So Drake May, come on down. 2 QBs around the turn here for me. We got Trevor Lawrence, just took him now, obviously stacking him up with Travis Hunter. We got Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans, Mark Andrews, James Conner, Chris Olave, Cooper Kupp, Rashad Bateman, part of the mini Baltimore stack I have. Sans the QB, obviously. And Drake May here because he is free, and that is the price where I could take Drake May on. My critique for Drake May, if I were to give him one, would be, number one, he is being propped up by a large portion of the analyst / content creator industry, ranging from guys who I like a lot. I like Pat Carrain, who I've done many streams with, ship chasing on my own Splash Play channels. One of the best guys, I think, in the biz, but also he and his team at Legendary Upside have really pushed Drake May aggressively for a while. You also have guys like Ben Solak at ESPN, a lot of the QB film analyst guys that have been sucking off Drake May for years. I think he's an okay player. Like I think he's fine. I took a lot of took a lot of lumps last year, quite frankly, for saying I thought Jaden Daniels is an infinitely better situation, prospect, all that stuff. I think we know where that is now. But a lot of these guys who love Drake May are still like, he's just as good as Jaden. He's not. He's also in an offense situation that's not going to be as good as Jaden. Josh McDaniels, Mike Vrabel. Don't expect this to be a very progressive offense the ways that you want to see. But if I can get Drake May 15 spots behind ADP, that's what I'll take him. So that's sort of what best ball is distilled down. And Drake May, late stack targets, Hunter Henry, Pop Douglas, who's been getting wide receiver 1 slot work there. If you want to take your shot on a Jalen Polk, you can. Obviously, you're not going to get Diggs when you take May here behind ADP. I'm not the biggest Diggs fan. I do think an older player coming off his pretty bad knee injuries would generally spook me enough. But for Drake May, we've got backdoor options, so that's sort of what we're looking at. We're always looking for backdoor options for the fellas. Great turn. I appreciate that. Focus on the NBA, WNBA easy money. Yeah, look, if you make projections for it, you probably do well. I tried to do it. Basketball Reference didn't line up the data 1-to-1 with how NBA projections work. So that kind of killed my WNBA dreams, my WNBA hoop dreams. Though I guess I could, yeah, never mind. I can still Juana man it. Which team RB room do you think is the best to draft from? That's or draft two from. Sorry, I misread that. That's a tough question. I think Chicago getting Swift and Roshan at their ADPs. I think they can both pay him off. I think the Giants, I think it's possible that Tyrone Tracy and Scattaboo, that a lead back doesn't really emerge there because neither to me grades out as like a full 20 touchback. Scattaboo, I would say, is the better shot of it, but I think it's possible you end up with both hitting. Jacksonville, you have 2 out of the 3 there, I think, that could end up hitting this year. If Connor weren't so expensive, I think that he and Trey Benson, who coach wants to put him in a timeshare, that's been a big talking point this entire offseason. I don't know if that'll happen because of how much they trust Connor, but I think that's possibly one. But I think those are probably the main ones. Tennessee, I like the RB2. I like Tyjae Spears more than Pollard, but those guys could pay off equally because I think they're another one going to be a split backfield. Ping-ponging games, definitely a possibility. Let's see what we get here. These next picks coming up. Kyle Williams goes, who is a New England receiver. I'm not very excited about him because he is a slot forward player. He's been playing safely behind Pop Douglas, at least in minicamp. We have a 2-3-6-1 though. Do you think we want to grab an RB here? I think Tank Bigsby correlates for us, fits the criteria well enough. So Tank Bigsby, one of those clicks. Second click here. I can get the second tight end, increase my Jacksonville bet. And I guess really, unfortunately, fade Brian Thomas, but I'm going to go up and get Brenton Strange. So Brenton Strange, my tight end 2. Normally would say that Zach Ertz I would have better projected than Brenton Strange. I just think Zach Ertz really got slept on a lot last year. I'll frankly click his game log to show you guys. In the playoffs especially, the 24 points in PPR in the NFC title game, Detroit put up 14, obviously has some down games. 25-pointer in week 17, which is when you needed that the most. Again, week 17 is what it's all about. That said, not like a guarantee that he'll hit in week 17 again. But Zach Ertz just went nuts enough down the stretch last year when he built up that trust with Jayden in particular. Beginning of the year was fine as well, but felt like he came on strong down the home stretch in a way that, frankly, having a Debo out there will take some touches away. But like Zach Ertz, if he stays healthy and Ben Sinnott doesn't come for the workload, I think that he really might be greatly undervalued ADP-wise right now. But that said, I didn't take him here. I took Brenton Strange. I think you're on Team Sinnott again. I'm not getting much Sinnott myself. I think he still, if he got the right situation, if he didn't have Zach Ertz coming in and being, really, frankly, playing a lot more like Travis Kelce than Travis Kelce did at points last year, I think that you would have Ben Sinnott being a guy who would come in and matter. I think if Zach Ertz gets hurt, Ben Sinnott goes out there and he immediately steps into an opportunity that'll be a little bit more ready for. But I think Ben Sinnott, unfortunately, there's really nothing underlying where I'm like, he did this really well. I expect the breakout to come. He got targeted 6% of the time he was running a route. He had a 0.24 EPA, which is not bad. Didn't qualify enough to make my red zone targets, if he got any. He just didn't do anything special in year 1. He was just a pure blocker out there, unfortunately, which is crazy given how good he looked, both in the preseason as well as in college as a yards after catch guy. I think he's got a lot of Tucker Kraft in him, but we're not gonna see that come to fruition. Hunter Henry goes, another potential stack partner for our Drake May here, but that's not happening. They were incentive hunting for Ertz, hit all of them at the end of the season. I mean, in the playoffs, they weren't incentive hunting for him, and he went nuts when they were trying to not get eliminated. I would agree. I would hate to regret not having Ben Sinnott. It was less than that for me last year, as Chunk's pointing out. I was big on Ben Sinnott last year in large part because I was big on Jayden Daniels creating value for that entire stack, making it work no matter who he had. The bad part of that was it resulted in me taking a little bit too much Luke McCaffrey, a little bit too much Jahan Dotson before he got traded, and definitely too much Ben Sinnott. And really the Ben Sinnott lesson was that we didn't know who was going to be the starting tight end there, and Zach Ertz was right there as well. So when you have those kind of bets where it's like, Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson, Zach Ertz last year, Ben Sinnott. We don't know who's going to be the guy. Who would be in another one this year? Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton kind of things. Like, you want to make those bets kind of evenly because either outcome can credibly hit. I didn't do that last year. I just played Ben Sinnott, drafted him a bunch, especially early on, and never really adjusted either when we knew Zach Ertz was running ahead of him in training camp. It was one of my biggest mistakes last year because I would have made a lot more money, to be honest. I had like top finishing teams with Jane Daniels that didn't have Zach Ertz. Was just a huge mistake. So recognizing ambiguous bets as ambiguous bets, probably another important thing to add to the best ball rule Rolodex for sure. Luke McCaffrey. The irony is, like, Luke McCaffrey, if he hits this year, it would be because Deebo Samuel failed and he basically became the Deebo Samuel, which is certainly in the range of outcomes, but not the most likely. All right, we got feeling pretty good at RB with the Henry A. Chan, James Conner start. I think Romeo Dobbs here for free, 14 spots after ADP, just kind of makes sense to absorb in. Not correlated, but that's fine. And I will take one bit of correlation here. I'll take Pop Douglas. Really, these guys in this range, Josh Palmer, I might like more than Pop Douglas generally, but we got the Drake May bet, so Pop Douglas, come on down. So the team so far is a 2-4-8-2. A lot of receiver capital because we spent so much on RB early on. Got Trevor Lawrence, Derrick Henry, Devon Achane. We got Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans, Travis Hunter as our receiver start. Travis Hunter, of course, stacked up, got sniped on the other QBs. Mark Andrews took him. James Conner, Chris Olave after ADP. Felt really good to get him at that price tag. Cooper Kupp, Rashad Bateman, Drake May took him a little bit after ADP. Actually, a good amount after ADP. Tank Bigsby, Brenton Strange, part of our Jacksonville bet. Romeo Dobbs was just free here, and I think it's too cheap for a guy that's probably going to be your starting outside receiver. I don't think Savion Williams comes for him in year one. And Matthew Golden is a totally different player that's going to have to really earn. It's getting anywhere close to the trust that Jordan Love has in Dobbs. Could take a lot for Golden, I think. And let alone his target earning was dog shit in college. And Pop Douglas here as well. So team definitely could add a few late RBs. That wouldn't be crazy. But I think we got pretty even balance so far with 3 more picks to go. Yeah, 3 more picks to go. Get the draft board aligned in some way here. Ambiguous RB duo. Yeah, sure. I mean, look, ambiguity in life, it's important to note. I don't know. Ambiguity, though, in best ball, really one of the most important things. Like, just knowing when a situation is that something's not guaranteed, somebody's going to win out here, make those bets evenly, or, as close even as you want to make it, I guess, adjusting for probability. Big part of best ball. Jennings gets his wish and they trade him. That's not his wish. His wish is to get paid. So I wouldn't view it that way. What's most likely is that they find a way to pay him another, I don't know, redo his deal, make it 12.5 a year, 14.5. He's not going to get Garrett Wilson money, but I don't think he expects that. He just needs to get more for as much as they target him. Hearing good things about Pop so far. Yeah, look, I mean, he's running with the starters. He's been safely ahead of Kyle Williams, which Kyle Williams got enough draft capital. You'd expect him to get worked in. But I think Kyle Williams is a decent shot at getting Roman Wilson this year. Not that he'll be hurt like Roman Wilson was, but just a player that people think is going to come in and take a role when in reality, the Calvin Austin's probably more ready to play, every down that they want to get a slot out there. And the Pop Douglas part of things too is that certainly Josh McDaniels, the new OC, / the old OC for New England coming back here, has loved to target the slot in the past. And Pop Douglas, if he's that slot guy, I just think he's a different player than Kyle Williams is. He's like a take the top off the defense guy. Pop Douglas, if he racks up a bunch of targets a game, like that's, I think, sort of what you're expecting for him. But we'll see. Certainly one of my favorite late draft clicks right now, whether I have Drake May or not, especially on a PPR site. I think that's an important one. Jaden Daniels has gained 20 pounds of muscle. Is that true? I don't think he's gained that much. I mean, Troy Franklin has said put on 15 pounds, but they actually said Troy Franklin put on 15 pounds. I don't think they specified it was muscle, but he just needed to gain any weight because he was way too slender last year. A pretty big tight end run here with Schultz, Juwan Johnson going. Again, DraftKings, very easy to build a 3 tight end build and feel good about it. And I would argue 3 tight ends can be just as important as 3 QBs in many builds. Jose asking, can you tell me your thoughts between Anthony Richardson and Danny Dimes? I think you're screwed no matter who you pick, is really how I feel about it. If I had to guess, Daniel Jones starts the year for Indianapolis. He's going to be a more accurate player. He's going to perform well enough in camp as he has so far, I think, to keep AR at bay. And if that shoulder injury for AR lingers, they're absolutely going to err on the side of caution. So I'd say that. Let me go back to that point here. So we have a 2-4-8-2. I do always love free Keenan Allen, and that doesn't change here, unfortunately. Third QB as well would be appealing for me. So Keenan Allen, I'm taking him here. Really don't know what he adds as wide receiver 9, but I just have so much RB capital spent already. I don't really care. And Tyler Shuck, who should be our starter for New Orleans, even though I don't think he's a special player. This front office took him. Kellen Moore's first decision as a coach was to bring in Tyler Shuck as a second-round pick. Personally, I think they should have traded up for Jackson Dart. Personally, they could have taken Dylan Gabriel, gotten similar production. They could have taken Shador, gotten similar production. But we have a Chris Olave bet here. I'll make the bet on Shuck as our third QB. So a 3-4-9-2 build here with Trevor Lawrence at QB. Derrick Henry, Devon Achane are 2 early picks at the 1-2 turn. Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans, Travis Hunter. Feel like the wide receiver room didn't suffer a ton despite getting the 2 RBs to start. Mark Andrews, James Conner was a nice little value. Chris Olave, definitely a nice value. Cooper Kupp rounded out the top 5. Took Bateman on top of that. Drake May, people like him. I don't like him quite as much, but I'll take him 15 spots after ADP. Tank Bigsby, Brenton Strange, Romeo Dobbs, Pop Douglas, Keenan Allen, Tyler Shuck. So we don't have opposite correlation for New Orleans, Tennessee in week 17. We don't have Jacksonville, Indianapolis correlation for week 17. We don't have New England Jets correlation for week 17. So that's where I've messed up the most here, is that I didn't build in week 17 correlation in any way, in large part because the guys right here really screwed up the QB approach. The guys taking 2 elite QBs, these guys reaching crazy early for QB. It threw off the QB feng shui enough that I just didn't get any of the guys I thought I would get naturally. But I would say for me, that would be my biggest critique of myself, is that not stacking for week 17. Should always be trying to do it. Anyway, so to wrap up the Indianapolis QB point, I think you're screwed either way, because I think AR probably starts at some point, but I don't think he starts the year because I think it'll be Daniel Jones, who's frankly perfectly accurate last year, even though he wasn't wowing anybody as a Giant. He was too good for them to treat him the way he did. I think I felt that way at the time, said it on stream back then. But now this year, like, he's going to be better than AR at getting the ball on time where it needs to go. But I don't know that the upside is going to be huge for him. I don't think it's going to be like Joe Flacco QB upside. I also think that Anthony Richardson is liable to take that job from him if the team is like 7-9, 6-10, like AR coming in then, but probably not being a guarantee to be good enough. If they're competitive for the playoffs, it could be Daniel Jones all year. So like you could win that outcome, but I don't know. I hate the Colts really as a team. Like I'll take Jonathan Taylor. But Michael Pittman, I just don't know what his role is with Josh Downs and Tyler Warren there. Josh Downs, I get the logic for. He commanded a ton of targets last year, but Tyler Warren's going to be getting targets in the exact same area that Josh Downs got targeted. So like, I don't know what's there. Alec Pierce, I like conceptually as the deep target. He played really well last year, but you still have AD Mitchell in year 2 coming on and being a guy that should be better and maybe taking some of those Pierce looks away. So I really don't know what you're getting from the Colts. And as a result, I really don't love the pieces. Like Taylor, again, happy to take Taylor. I really don't even take DJ Giddens because I think Taylor will be reliable enough out there. I think Giddens is pure kind of handcuff value. Not a crazy Colts guy. Like Daniel Jones better, and he's mobile. I agree. I just think that build, no matter what, if it's Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, they shouldn't be your QB2. They should be your QB3. You should make sure you have 2 guys that can start ahead of them and be, giving you points week to week. I think it's entirely possible that Daniel Jones, he might even start the year hot. He might give you like that Sam Darnold Carolina Panthers year where it was like, what the fuck's going on here? This guy's playing really well. And then he kind of craters. He can give you something like that too. Like, I just think it's unlikely you get one starter the whole year. Do I trust any Denver RBs? I trust J.K. Dobbins at ADP. I still think there's a world where Audric Estime could get goal line work for this team. But I think, to me, the big thing is the timing of how they signed J.K. Dobbins, where they went through minicamp / OTAs with RJ Harvey, with Estime, with McLaughlin, with Blake Watson, with whatever they have at RB at this point. They went through that process and they said, let's add on a guy. And I think that's never a good sign for how it goes. It doesn't mean that RJ Harvey can't go nuts or something and like establish himself as like this team's version of Alvin Kamara. But I think he's being drafted like that's the assumption that's going to happen. I just don't think RJ Harvey showed me enough while playing kind of dog shit competition at UCF or USF, whichever one it is. That's one of the Florida schools. That's not one of the good Florida schools. Like, he didn't really avoid a ton of tackles. He was an efficient enough runner, but he's also kind of old. I'm not sure he's like legit a dude. And I think he's getting drafted like he's going to be a game-changing back. And I'm not sold that's the case. So I think Dobbins to me is a much safer click because they brought him in when they noticed that something's missing. I think that's part of the equation. We got 2 picks coming up here, though, so stay tuned, guys. Again, make sure you download that DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. Take your shots at the $15 million in total prizes on DraftKings. In particular, when you get in your first entry, you get another one for free. So an important one to keep in mind here when we are trying to get as much EV as possible out of our best ball entries. Getting entries for free does contribute to that equation pretty meaningfully. We've got 2 tight ends. I would like to get a third here, but tight end really got bled out in the run up to here. I'm going to take a real big swing at tight end, I think. I go Harold Fannin, who, to me, graded out really well from Bowling Green. The issue is that they have a guy who they're paying money to in Njoku. I don't like the Browns' offensive environment very much either, but we'll take a shot at Fannin here, and if not, we've at least got 2 tight ends that should be starting, and Andrews and Brenton Strange. And maybe one more RB here. Keaton Mitchell, a decent swing. Everything else is dog shit. I'll go Keaton Mitchell here. So final team, again, really got thrown off by the QB ADPs. I think the team probably got pretty good real-time like closing line value on ADP because we soaked up a lot of value along the way. But it's like a weird team. I definitely had to build around just getting sniped and just not great drafting, to be honest, in the room. But we got Trevor Lawrence, Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, Marvin Harrison Jr., Mike Evans, Travis Hunter. I feel like the top group works pretty well. Mark Andrews, James Conner, Chris Olave was a nice ADP discount. Cooper Kupp, couldn't get him stacked up, unfortunately. Rashad Bateman, part of our Baltimore mini stack. Drake May, didn't really get a ton of correlation for him besides Pop Douglas. Tank Bigsby, Brenton Strange, Romeo Dobbs, Pop Douglas. Keenan Allen was my wide receiver 9. So really, if he does anything this year, it'll add value to the room, I would hope. But I really didn't even need him in the team. Tyler Shuck, Harold Fannin, Keaton Mitchell. Yeah, I don't know. I think this team could have been a little bit better with a few more breaks going my way, but I think it still works well enough. Want to make sure I show you guys this really important ad from DraftKings, so check it out before we do log off here. If you have any last questions, drop them in chat right now. But please do check out this important video from our pal Greg Ehrenberg and DraftKings.
It's best ball season, and DraftKings is giving all customers a can't-miss offer. Draft one, get one. Enter a lineup in the $15 million best ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another best ball ticket to play free for a share of $15 million, giving you a second chance to win big. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for a share of $15 million and get a second ticket to play free for a share of $15 million. That's 2 chances to win big without ever setting your lineup again. Draft one, get one, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions do apply and void where prohibited. 1 per customer. Enter the Best Ball $15 million headliner contest by September 4th, 2025 to get 1 bonus entry. $20 entry fee required. Reward expires in 30 days. See terms at DraftKings.com/NFL-best-ball, sponsored by DraftKings.
The best part of that ad is how it just keeps going. That's it's like, I also do love Greg Ehrenberg's professional broadcasting voice. I have always lacked that skill set. So glad to see it. But shout out to DraftKings again. Make sure to listen to that ad and go get your shots at $15 million. I don't want to say anything else because that's all the legal jargon that you needed to hear. But go play, download the app right now. Pay attention all week as well. Best ball week on DraftKings. So lots of promo deals going on right now. Weekly leaderboards you could be a part of. All of that. What the hell happened to my camera? What? What is going on? There, I'm back. That was weird. My camera didn't look like it died for me, but apparently it did. That's my sign to exit, though, guys. Shout out to all you guys hanging out. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. Check out my Splash Play channel as well. I think I have the link here. Yeah, well, yeah, go check out Splash Play. At Splash Play Pod on YouTube. That's where I'm doing all my other draft content, including all the platforms out there. So check it out for yourself. Did a three draft process before this one on DraftKings, Underdog, on Drafters if you want to check that out for yourself. And tune back in Thursday, 3 p.m. I'll be here again doing another best ball draft. So come join me on that one. If you want to get tipped off, join my OddsShopper Tails page. I tell you when drafts are going off. You also get access to my Discord and all the news alerts I pop in there. Thanks to all you guys for hanging out. Know it's a slow gambling week, so hopefully I can be here for you guys a little bit more. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. And if you want me to play the DraftKings ad again, I can, but I'll just probably leave. All right. Bye, guys.